Prior to me starting my business, I worked at a company called MyHigh, and I helped scale that business into multiple countries, and then we exited, we handed over to a US holding company.
You obviously have gone through the sales process with the owners. What made you then choose to start a company rather than potentially go get another job?
Everyone wants to exit with the best valuation ever. So I was like, if I can do this for one company, I can do this for everyone else. Getting told that you need chemo as a person who is very holistic about their health is not the best thing. I knew that my body would take a big hit when that happened. No one was going to ever come and save me. I don't have any safety net if this doesn't work out. I don't have parents that will save me because we grew up poor. And so I was like, this all has to work out. No matter if I'm sick or healthy, it needs to happen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Elevate with Vic and Juls.
So we've created this podcast to showcase our journey through entrepreneurship, as well as having multiple businesses, 2 kids under 3, and all of the raw stories behind it.
Now that we've done one season of just us on the microphone, we've decided to invite some friends to season 2 who are all incredible entrepreneurs, and they will be joining us on the couch to share their journey and their learnings along the way. And we think you're going to love it.
So if you like what you're hearing, make sure that you like us, follow us, as well as share us to your friends and family so we can continue to grow and do what we do.
Thanks, everyone. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Elevate with Vic and Juls. And for today, we're so excited and honoured to welcome the amazing Lyn Nguyen into our studio. Yay!
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Lyn, thanks so much for joining us on our podcast.
Anytime.
We were approached by your amazing PR, which now I've learned is your good friend.
Yep, my best friend.
Your best friend. Do you want to give a little shout out to her?
Yeah, her name's Chelsea. She runs Honeybuzz PR. She's the best person ever.
I love that. So thank you, Chelsea, for reaching out and I guess introducing yourself to us as well. And I think, you know, for Vic and I, it's all about being able to meet amazing entrepreneurial superwomen like yourself along the way, and being able to create a platform for you to share your story is an honour, and we're very excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
So let's get started. Who is Lyn?
So my name is Lyn Nguyen. I am a Vietnamese Australian, second generation, and I run Auvie Consultants. Yeah.
We do this all the time. You want to go?
There you go.
What is Auvie Consultant?
So Auvie Consultants is an operations consultancy, and we look at scaling business through efficient operations and then helping founders exit their business and get a better valuation.
Awesome.
That's a really unique, I guess, sector or segment of business consulting that you are tapping in and honing in on. Can you tell us a little bit more about how or why you landed on particularly business operation and exiting as a consultancy?
So prior to me starting my business, I worked at a company called MyHigh, and I helped scale that business into multiple countries, and then we exited, we handed over to a US holding company, and the thrill of selling a company was so fun. And I was like, okay, if I can do this for one company, I can do this for everyone else. And everyone wants to exit with the best valuation ever. So I was like, I can do this. And then I was also good at marketing, but then everyone under the sun had a marketing agency, and I was like, nah, I think I'll stick with operations.
Operations, yeah, okay. And so how long have you been in business for?
I think it's getting up to 4 years now.
4 years. I love that. And you were just sharing with us beforehand that your partner is also involved.
Yeah. So he joined end of last year.
Yeah.
And he's now on board helping me with strategy for the business, which is great.
Awesome. Should have had him here too.
Exactly.
A couple, in business.
Yeah.
Which is
We'll have to wait for him to get to the 1 year mark.
Yeah.
Before he
And then he
Okay.
can come on.
Has he
past probation.
Has he passed probation? That's the question.
Almost.
Almost. Okay. Watch out. Lachlan, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Lachlan.
So tell us, I guess just to rewind back to young Lyn version.
Yeah.
to get into, you know, the business that you were in and then kind of working your way up from partnerships into, you know, GM and then helping them do this big exit and then making your move into your own company. Was this something that you've always aspired to get into, or like were you set out on a different pathway? Tell us about what your early 20s were like.
Honestly, probably not. So I started like straight out of uni. I was in corporate. Before uni as well, I was also at GSK. So I was one of the interns. And I was like, this is kind of really slow. Like corporate is very slow. And I feel like I was a person who wanted speed and I want things done and I wanted like marketing campaigns to go through as fast as possible because that's how the world is. Like everything is so fast. But at a pharmaceutical company, everything had to go through regulations and all that stuff. And it was very slow. So I learnt that it wasn't my kind of pace of a business, but I had the best team ever there as well. And then from there on out, I was like, okay, so what do I want to do? Started in corporate, didn't go that well. And funny enough, one day I saw this Instagram like story, and it was my old boss, and he had posted an Instagram story being like, looking for a partnerships manager. I was like, surely people don't get jobs this way. And I was like, okay, I'll just DM him. I'll be like, hey, interested in your partnerships manager job. And I was lucky enough to get a chance to like interview and then get on the team. And we started doing some really cool partnerships. Like I did some partnerships with like the UFC.
Yeah, nice.
And so they used the My High blankets for their like athletes. Did a lot of cool partnerships with like influencers, activations, all of that stuff. And then they were like, what else can you do? And I was like, you know, like my job previously was in operations. And they're like, ooh, okay. And they were like founders looking to kind of step back from their business, running the day-to-day as well. And they were like, okay, I'll hand this over to you and see how you go. And they're like, you're kind of good at this. And I was like, thank you. And then so I just worked my way up, and then they kept asking me like, what do you want to learn? What do you want to look after? And I just kept taking on more and more, and they were like, okay, you can become general manager.
Yeah.
And I did. And then I scaled and sold their business.
Wow.
I would love to know more about that journey in terms of like, okay, when you entered the business, where was it at?
Yeah.
And then how did you go through the roles that you went through? How did that translate to the business scale? And then how did that ended up at an exit?
Yeah. So when I started, I think they were only in Australia and US. And then I came on board, got them their partnerships, which gave them more visibility. It also gave them really good content to run through their meta ads, which was where most of their income was coming from. And so that grew the brand. I got some ads where like it would stick. It's very hard to market a sauna blanket. Like no one will stop at your ads if you're like, hey, I'm in a sauna. Like no one's going to look at that. So I had to like make some really disgusting ads. And like the first shot is someone like just sweating so much, drenched in sweat. But it worked as an ad and it helped them get the visibility that they needed. And then when I took on operations, they were like, okay, we want to scale out. And so I launched the UK market. I launched the European market as well. And so that was growing the company, making them bigger. I ended up placing a lot bigger POs, so purchase orders for their brand, because I did all the inventory planning as well. And I could see that obviously our sales were increasing like crazy. So then navigating all of that, navigating the problems that would arise. So sometimes if supply didn't like deliver, then we couldn't do anything about it. We just had to figure out a solution to still fulfill orders and maybe like hold back on a market or just creative ways to ensure that our customer was front of mind and always had the stock that they needed. And then we brought on, and then I just kept growing the business, taking on everything that I potentially could. And that's how I became the GM, I think. And then one day my bosses approached me and they're like, Lyn, how do you feel about kind of like continue running the company while we go through due diligence? And me, young, like 22 or 23, I was like, oh, what's due diligence, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm Googling this. And then they're like, emailing me and being like, Lyn, where's this, where's that, where's this, where's that. So like I was like coming up with all the due diligence information for them. And I was like, I'll keep this in mind for next time. And so I helped them through due diligence. I think we went through it twice. So we had 2 potential buyers. And then I still remember the day that we sold, they like messaged me middle of the night and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then they flew to the US and like I still remember on my birthday, them FaceTiming me with the new owners, and US time is like nighttime and it's morning time for me. I'm fresh faced. There's no makeup, no nothing. They're like, Lyn, we want you to meet the new owners. I was like, please, not this time. But
wow.
Yeah.
What was it like in your head? I mean, I definitely want to get to the part where you've decided to become a business owner, but what was it like in your head, obviously knowing that the owners were going through a sale process and what that could potentially mean for your job?
Yeah. So I was like a little bit worried because I know that like job security was a thing and I was wanting to move out of home, which I eventually did when the sale like went through. And I was like, holy shit, like I'm not going to have a job after this. And I remember the owners because they like, loved me quite a bit. So they were like, when we do this handover, I need you to hire Lyn at least for 3 months while you do the handover. And then, you know, which gave me a runway of time to figure out what I wanted to do with my life afterwards. And the new company ended up keeping me on for like 1.5 years.
Yeah, right.
So I got to start my business behind the scenes while still working for them and doing all the handover. So I feel like I didn't have as much of a worry in terms of like I don't have a job at all. I think it was good that they were nice enough to like let me keep my job. The new owners didn't know that I started my own business, but the old owners knew, and they gave me time. They sent me people my way as well, being like, Lyn's a great operator. If anyone needs her, message her. And so I got some clients through their referrals as well.
Wow.
I want to talk a little bit about your business at the moment in terms of the due diligence stage, and I think it will be good to let the audience understand exactly what that stage is. So, I mean, it's a technical term, but understanding what is involved in due diligence may be something of interest.
Yeah, so due diligence basically when a buyer approaches you and says, I want to buy your business, they sign a letter of intent and then you go through due diligence, which is basically when the buyer gets to kind of look under the hood of your business and review your business, how it's running, how it's making its money, and decide whether or not it's a good business for them to buy. And they look at every nook and cranny there is under the business. And it's fair enough because it is an investment for them and they want to make sure that it's a good investment, so they're going to be very thorough.
Yeah.
And I guess when I mean, there's so many technicalities of this. It's like looking through all the financials. It can be looking through all the legal side of things. Like what else is involved in the contracts, current contracts, partnership contracts, and the list goes on, right?
Every part of the business they will look at. So like you were saying, finance, operations, logistics, supplier contracts, your payment terms with the suppliers, any contractors you have, any risk mitigation, your return rate for buyers as well, your faulty rates. They look at everything that they can get their hands on.
Absolutely.
And how, when preparing for due diligence, or if you know that you want to exit from a company, what is the time frame that you would normally suggest for someone to actually prepare themselves for all that?
Yeah, I actually suggest that everyone prepares themselves before they even think about selling a company. I think as a buyer, you would look at the company and you would review like at least a decent amount of time, like even a year or even further on than that, before you look at their financials and how they're performing. Because if you look at the past 3 months, they might be doing great, but what about before? Like, why weren't they making that money before? And if they look at, a revenue that's doing well in the past 3 months? Is this seasonal? Is this going to be a good investment? Is it just going to like make me money 3 months in a year?
Is it flash sales?
Yeah,
That kind of stuff. Yep.
exactly. And people do things to inflate their revenue numbers.
Yep.
So you want to show the buyer that your business is consistently earning that money and making good profit and making good revenue. And so I would suggest get in as soon as possible. Otherwise, probably a year at minimum, just to clean up everything and make sure that your P&L is clean, making sure that your operations is clean. Everyone knows what's going on in the business.
Yep. I mean, like I love this because this is like a lot of stuff that I look at in businesses.
Yeah.
And normally, like, you know, rule of thumb for me is that I normally go through 3-year financials. It's a very normal thing. And obviously the last 12 months performance would outweigh most of your decision making in the last 3 years, because if it's a upward trend, then that's great. But a lot of times business owners don't understand that they're selling either on a down, which I see probably 80% of the businesses I see is like when it goes down, that's the way they want to sell. But it's also like that pricing that is not worth. And if there's a dip, it does definitely affect people's point of views, buyers' point of views. And taking an average of 3 years is no longer the case, because I'll take your last year's financial as the performance of the business. But when we're going through, you know, from a buyer's lens and then from a seller's end, because you got to sit on, I guess, the seller's end. I'd love to see what are like, you know, as an owner from the seller's end, what are some of those things that really motivate them to actually go through a business sale?
Yeah. So for My High, the business had only been around for 2 years, so the buyer wouldn't have 3 years of financials. Yeah. I think they brought me on at 6 months of launching, and then I spent a year and a half where we scaled and sold. So that was a very quick turnaround. And I think a lot of the time with buyers, like for my old bosses, they were young, they were like eager and hungry. And so it was a great opportunity for them. But I do think most of the businesses on the market are mainly legacy businesses. So businesses where the older generation are now retiring and they want to either pass it on to their family members or just sell it off and make a profit or have a retirement fund. And so I think those are the main businesses, and I think most people want to retire and just use that lump sum, or they would probably exit, take the money, buy a new business or start a new business with it.
So tell us then, you obviously have gone through the sales process with the owners, and it sounds lovely that you guys had such a close-knit relationship as well. And then you obviously had a runway of another year and a half with the new owners. What made you then choose to start a company rather than potentially go get another job?
Honestly, I do not like getting bossed around. And I don't think any job that was listed on the market, like I did have a look at jobs just to like put my feelers out there, but I don't think anything out there was what I wanted to do. And back then there weren't a lot of e-commerce businesses around either. And so I was like, okay, there's no e-commerce business that I'm really interested in scaling and exiting. The ones that are quite small and probably wouldn't pay enough for me to move out. And it just wasn't like anything I was interested in. And I knew that I was good at getting their operations in check to like let them scale. And I knew that was a skill that was sellable rather than just helping someone with their day-to-day operations, doing their logistics and all that stuff, but them bossing me around and I'm not getting the fulfillment I need as well.
Wow. So you've decided to then become your own boss so no one can boss you around. I like that. What was it like in the early days? I mean, it's still fairly new with the business that you operate now, but what was it like in the early days? How did you get your first couple of clients? How did you find that rhythm of being a business owner? Share with us.
My first client actually came through a collaboration that I did for My High. So I at one point I was running a giveaway with another brand called Infraready. And I met the owner, I did all the partnership stuff, and he was just having a chat with me about, you know, what else was going on in the business. And I was like, oh, look, we're looking to sell, etc. And he was like, oh, yeah, I think I need someone to like help me with the operations as well. And I was like, cool. And then he eventually became one of my clients as well. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was very hard at the start. It still is hard. Like there's always challenges. And one of my friends likes to call it new levels, new devils.
Yeah, I like that.
So there's always challenges. But at the start, it was a lot of like imposter syndrome. Can I do this? I am a young 23-year-old who looks like a child as well. Like I'm Asian. I've got like very bouncy skin. I don't look my age at all.
Yeah.
Will anyone trust me to run their business? And then on top of that, the culture thing as well. Like I'm also Asian, so I'm potentially less favored in general. And so I was like, okay, like there are so many things I need to overcome, but I just had to believe in myself and tell myself that you can do this no matter what. And at the time when I was living out of home, I was like, okay, like there's no fallback, right? Like if I don't get a client, no one's paying the rent. I have to pay the rent. So I was like, nah, you got to make rent.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And I fully appreciate the challenges that you've faced as well, because I've had very similar kind of thoughts, and that imposter syndrome perhaps sometimes never really go away.
Yeah,
You kind of just learn to manage it better, being female, Asian, and, you know, trying to win big deals and be able to connect with people that might otherwise choose a different pathways. What are some of the skills that you've learned over your time in convincing people that you are the right consultant, that you can share with other people that's listening, that they can maybe apply to what they do on a regular basis?
Yeah, I think repetition gives you confidence. And I think because I've done it and then I've helped scaled other businesses and helped them exit, I'm like, I can do this. It's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
E-commerce, like I know like the back of my hand, and right now we're expanding into other businesses like retail or consultancy agencies as well. So those ones, a business is kind of structured the same anyway. So if I can scale and sell a business, I know I can do it for other businesses. I'm a little bit delusional. So I feel like that's a lot of what I do to keep myself moving along.
Yeah, we're all a little delusional when we're a business owner. You have to be.
It's the trait of all entrepreneurs at times.
Absolutely. What would you say then, because effectively your business or your consultancy is around helping mostly founder-led type businesses that you work with, right? The founder to effectively just step back and work on the business rather than in the business, and then, you know, look towards an exit plan. Like, what would you consider are the key pillars or metrics for any founders who's listening now that's still knee-deep in the day-to-day grind that they need to concentrate on or look at in order to step out?
I think as soon as you can afford it, hire someone else, but hire an executor. Like you need someone that can do all the things you need them to do. They don't need to come up with the strategy because that's what you're for, but they just need to execute, and then you can do things to make their lives and your lives easier. So I know like a lot of founders are the bottlenecks because they get stuck in the day-to-day decision making. And so what I tend to suggest to founders is to create what I call an escalation matrix. And it's basically where you list all the problems that day to day they would usually come through. And then you go, okay, so if this happens, this is what you need to do. And if this still isn't resolved, this is what you need to do. And then if that's not resolved, then you can come to me. But it gives them a couple of steps to execute themselves before they have to come running back to you, because you still want the business to keep running even if you've stepped out of the room.
Okay, I like that. An escalation matrix.
And can I ask, is that task-based matrix or is that people matrix, as in like when a problem arises, do you go to solve the task by doing this, or in terms of matrix, or is it if there's a problem that arises, go to this person and then go to this person, or bit of
task? So I'd start off with the task, especially if you're just the solo entrepreneur and you're hiring someone for the first time. run them through the tasks that they would need to do, and then I also tell them to do a knowledge bank and basically have all the SOPs, all the knowledge, all the nuances for your clients, for your business in there as well, so that anyone in your business can access it. Anyone can look at it no matter whether or not you're in the room. It doesn't live in your brain. And then they can go through the escalation matrix. They go, okay, this task, I've done this task. What can I do next as well? And then that kind of helps you keep the same quality that you would produce as a founder, because you're not relying on them to think of the solution. You've already thought of the solution. They just need to execute it. And then that's a good way to keep the quality without.
Check. I like it. I like that. So I know we're going ahead, but I'm kind of keen to rewind because I want to know, like, what's the younger version of Lyn like? You know, like, how was your upbringing? I know we've spoken about culture. You know, we're both Vietnamese as well. What was your upbringing like? Was your parents the typical, I hate to say it, Asian parent that wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant? And what was it like saying to them, hey, you know, parents, I'm now going to start my business?
Not gonna lie, they don't really know that I have a business.
Really?
Yeah,
Even now?
like currently.
Oh, wow.
And you've been in 4 years in business?
Yep, they think I still work for My High.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Why is
Hope
that?
they're not listening to this podcast.
Yeah. I'll do a translate version. Translate a Viet version.
I don't think I'm not super close with my parents. Like, I love them dearly, but I think they have a mindset that I don't want as a founder. They have like a 9-to-5 mindset. So it's kind of like clock on, clock off. And as a founder, I am very conscious of protecting my energy. And I know that I need to do certain things that a person in their 9-to-5 isn't willing to do in business. And so I try and block out as much of that noise as possible. And like when I was young and I started a little e-commerce business in skincare. No one was actually supportive. And so when I did tell my mum at the time, like, there was no like, oh, my daughter's like done this, like there was no like awareness to like even promote to her friends or anything like that. And I know like it's not really expected, but it would have been nice to know that I had the support. And so this time around I was like, okay, I've learnt. And I think I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm going to protect my energy because I know I can do big things and I don't want anyone else stopping me from doing that.
I like that. Wow. I think that's the first on our podcast. Well, the parents have no idea. I'm so intrigued. And I like the idea of the fact that you have clearly set boundaries. You know, you've identified it and you're like, I need to put some boundaries in place to protect me and, like, as you say, protect your energy in order to perform your best. Is there intention on, are you working towards a certain point in your career or business to then be like, okay, I'm going to tell them now? Or is it like, I'm just going to keep it to myself for the rest of my life?
I think I'll tell them when I can retire them.
Okay.
Yeah. Just before that, like, no one bother me. I'm just going to do what I need to do to get this business up and running.
Wow. That's it. So like family dinners, they're like, how's you know, your boss going? And
I'm like, oh yeah, they're great. One of my old bosses is my client now, which is great. So like I can semi-truth.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. Okay, that's very interesting indeed.
I mean, it's interesting how the culture also is in that mindset. I think like there's a lot of
we talk about that a lot,
and I think like, you know, if we did go back to the upbringing, like how did our culture get to the point where it's like they prefer a stable 9-to-5 than to be an entrepreneur, particularly for Vietnamese, where most Vietnamese people in Vietnam, majority are entrepreneurs, while coming to the country is actually losing all that identity and actually prefer to play it safe in a way.
Well, I think like, and we talk about this a lot, like in that sense of belonging as well, right? I think culturally our parents, you know, I don't know if your parents were like refugee people necessarily or boat people, but it's that kind of survival instinct. And then, you know, you kind of have rooted yourself in a place, in a safe haven like Australia, that you end up saving your money and working and wanting that security. I think that's a very normal thing to have as a mindset, and then naturally, you know, kind of passes on to your kids. Do you have any siblings?
I have a half sister, but we're very far apart. So we're not like similar in any sense.
Yeah, younger or older?
Younger.
Younger.
So she's, I think, 11 years younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see if she'll listen to the podcast. She'll be like, we need to have a conversation.
Blackmail.
yeah.
But I mean, I would love to understand, like, you know, with your parents' upbringing, like, you know, upbringing with your parents and their mindset, and how you managed to actually break out of that. And said, hey, I want to do my own thing, or I have my own dream. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I actually think their mindset comes from the war and how, like, you know, there was no safety. And so once they came to Australia, like having a roof over your head was like the best thing ever. And so my parents are content just having a house and that's it. That's all they need in life. And I think I wanted more. Like I wanted to never be able to have to worry about anything, because I did grow up quite poor, even though we had a roof over our heads. So I wanted more, and I wanted to give my kids more opportunity than I ever had. Like I was very grateful that I got to have like my swimming lessons and my piano lessons and etc. But I wanted to be able to give my kids whatever opportunity they wanted. So if they went, hey mom, I want to do ballet, I'm like, cool, can set you up for that. And so I wanted to set up that foundation, and I really wanted a family as well. And so I was like, okay, I need to work and figure out how to build this legacy to then do that for my kids. Going back to your question of how I broke free, honestly, don't really know. I think the want for more was just like, okay, I need to like move away from the messaging that I'm getting. And I do this all the time with social media as well. So when I am feeling a bit negative because of all the stuff that's going on socials, and like obviously you see a lot of the new stuff, I just have a social detox. So I think your brain works in the same way in regards to people that you have in your lives. And so if you want more than what you currently have, you need to look for people who can motivate you or are already there to then get to that position yourself as well.
100%.
Yeah.
We can agree more. We were just talking about it yesterday, right?
I mean,
the power of osmosis.
Osmosis.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the people that you are with and around definitely make a difference.
Yeah, you are who you are with. So I don't know why we were talking about that yesterday. Oh, kids and schooling.
Kids and schooling. Let's see how it goes.
But yeah, we totally agree. And I think it is very and like you said, I love that you said before, like I'm destined for great things. Like, you know, you know that innately in yourself, and you're creating space for yourself to do that. So yeah, kudos to you and congratulations. I don't know. We went down this sidetrack, and
I mean,
now I'm like,
I still got questions.
yeah. You go.
I mean, this is off script, but like, it sounds like you found some really great entrepreneurs to work for at a very early stage. Like, what are those qualities of
traits?
Traits of a great entrepreneur that attracted you to them, and what have they done that's so well, or that's led them to this exit? But what have they done to have this trait, and probably an inspiration to where you're at the moment?
Yeah, I think they were just very persistent. So I had two bosses, Wyatt and Ed.
Yep.
And they had started multiple businesses prior to that, and nothing really took off the way that they wanted it to take off until they got to My High. And once they got to My High and they could see some traction, they were like, okay, we need to double down. We need to make this happen. And so I think that persistence and like just eager to like get everything up and running and making it a success is what I really loved about my old bosses. And I just loved their drive, and I used to like ask them random questions, business questions. I still do. I would still like message them and be like, hey, well, how does this meta thing work? And I think one of the other great things was that they were willing to share their knowledge. So they weren't protective of everything. And once they had a formula and it was a proven formula, they were happy to share it, whether it's with me or with other people. And it was just like always connecting to other people, talking about how they're running their business so that if other people had better ideas, they could try and implement them.
I love that. I love like what you're saying, persistent. We normally say it as like being relentless. Hey, like you get knocked back so many times, so you still get up and you keep going, and you're like, this is a bit crazy, but you are obsessive with the end goal. And I like that, you know, they obviously are constantly willing to learn and share the knowledge as well, which I think is so important, and is one of the reasons why we created this podcast as well. It's just feeling like you want to create that community and that opportunity to share. I mean, we're curious because your line of work is literally about getting founders to become operationally savvy and then sorted so that they could exit. Have you got a business plan for yourself in the next X amount of years to,
I do.
you know?
Yes. I do. My big plan is to have a whole portfolio of businesses that I will manage. And so I have built systems for Auvie at the moment to like exit myself completely out of it. Obviously, I'm still involved day to day while it's still quite small. But once we get bigger, there is a plan on like what roles I need as well to then get myself completely out, what needs to be done, how the transition happens. So I've got that all mapped out.
I like it.
Whether or not it's going to plan, not in question, but I've got like an idea of what I want to do, and then I've got businesses that I want to bring on as well. And then I had like another e-com idea that if I do get the chance, I would love to execute.
Yeah, very cool. That was a trick question. I'm like, surely as the exit person, you would have an exit plan.
I do have an exit plan.
And when we're looking at exit, there's multiple ways of exits, right? So are we looking at exiting the business as in selling the business, or being operational wise,
Free. Yeah.
not needing you in the business?
I think operationally without me at the moment, I haven't thought about selling it yet. I think it's a bit harder to sell a consultancy business compared to an e-commerce business. And I think most of it is due to my personal branding at the moment. I'm very aware of that. And until I can get to like a PwC, I probably wouldn't sell.
Yeah. That's fair. And I think that's the same in the sense of us, you know, like we've exited our primary business, you know, with the leadership team and so forth as well. And we've got a group of businesses. It's very similar sort of structure of what you're hoping to build. But there's, I think, you know, innately as every entrepreneur, you always find yourself wanting to build, create, do something. And like, I love that you were saying at the start that, you know, you found the corporate life too slow, which is not normal for most people. You know, they'd be like, what are you talking about? That's like 9 to 5. That's a whole day. But as every entrepreneur, like, you know, quite often you do go, like you're always wanting to do things fast and you always want to get and do more in your day to day. Let's switch a bit to personal life because we were prepped by your best friend, Chelsea, that you obviously have also experienced, you know, some adversity last year in particular. That has now really given you a new lens on life as well. Can you share publicly with us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so last year, I think it was end of 2024, I was diagnosed with a molar pregnancy, which is basically when 2 sperms hit an egg, and instead of creating a fetus or a baby, it creates just a massive placenta, and it just keeps on growing until it bursts. That's what the doctor said when I asked him. And so with the molar pregnancy, we had to go through a couple of operations, so a D&C, and we did 2 of those to try and remove out all the sticky tissue that was inside of me. Unfortunately, that was unsuccessful, not on any part of the hospital, but it's just sometimes there's stuff left over and they can't get it out. And so the doctor said to me, Lyn, you're going to have to go through chemo in order to get rid of it. And then I spent 3 months with in chemo, getting chemotherapy and running my business at the same time, which was probably the hardest time that I've probably gone through during my business, because I was tired. I couldn't think properly as I would. I was so embarrassed to go outside and even network with people because I was probably either low energy or I just like didn't feel like myself. Like I'd also gained a decent amount of weight as well from all the hormones and all the stuff happening inside of me. So did not like that time.
Wow. I mean, as a young mum myself, like I feel, and I say this publicly and to everyone, I'm so blessed, you know, to have baby Jeslyn and Jordan. So I'm sorry to hear that you experienced that. And to sit here, you're so bubbly, you know, about it and still smiley about it. But like, can you talk us through that experience? So obviously you guys were wanting to start a family and then that happened. What was running through your head during that experience?
Yeah, so I remember when I was starting to get morning sickness and my partner's like, are you pregnant? And I was like, nah, I'm not pregnant. And he's like, I think you should do a test.
Yeah.
And so I did a test and I was like, holy shit, I am.
Yeah.
So then I went like straight to the doctors, but then obviously things played out and then we found out about the molar pregnancy and I was like, what is this? Like I've never heard of it before. I've never heard anyone speak of it. I also have PCOS, which is also public information. But I was like, okay, surely this is related to PCOS. And turns out it's not related to PCOS, but getting told that you need chemo as a person who is very holistic about their health is not like the best thing ever. Like I would always, even with cold and flus, I'd pop a vitamin C before I pop any like Panadol or ibuprofen. And so it was, I knew that my body would take a big hit when that happened.
Yeah.
And I think I was in a good position where I was someone who's quite healthy in terms of exercise. I'd built a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
And so that kind of sustained me during chemo. Like I've seen people who are sick and they don't have any muscle mass on them and it takes a big toll. But I was lucky that I did have a decent amount on me. And I honestly think that that was what got me through the time. And yeah, so good doctors.
I mean, thank you for the doctors. They obviously did a great job. But I guess just unpacking that further, and you said, you know, I think you used the word embarrassed during that phase or that period where you were going through chemo, still trying to run a business. You've obviously put on a lot of weight. What was the motivation for you to then like become the person you are today, like now, you know, like what went through your head, you know, because a lot of the times people could sort of go down the side tracks and continue to be sick even past the chemo phase, but like what kept you going to kind of get back in shape and, you know, go outside again to society and do all of that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it came from my mindset. And when I was younger, I had a bit of trauma that I needed to get through. And I had a really great psychologist who always helped me train my brain out of negative thoughts. And I've carried it throughout my like whole adult life. And I think that really helped. Like I've seen how, I know a lot of people who are sad tend to say there's like nothing you can do to change their brain. But I personally think your brain will grow new neurons in order to help you adapt. And so I trained it like a muscle to always be positive. And so during my darkest times when like, you know, those bad thoughts might creep in, I was like, okay, like I've already trained this muscle. Let's just switch it on a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so I think that helped. And then I think I also had that goal of creating a family that I wanted to create. And also no one was going to ever come and save me. And so I don't have any safety net. Like if this doesn't work out, I don't have parents that will save me because we kind of grew up poor. And so I was like, this all has to work out no matter if I'm sick or healthy, like it needs to happen. And so it was just constantly pounding on that goal.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that's really amazing. And I guess like the power of the mindset is so important. You know, if we can train that as a muscle, it can get you through a lot of hard times, which is really amazing.
I mean, I'm curious if you had to share with someone else who's listening and perhaps they are facing challenges and they are wanting to find ways to train this muscle, as you say. Like, were there practical things that you did or things that you tell yourself, or can you share a bit more about that?
Process.
Yeah. So this sounds so silly, but like 3 things you're grateful for every day, right before you go to bed, write them down. So then it kind of trains your brain to be positive before you go to sleep. I also exercise. So even if you can't do anything and you want to go for a walk is fine. I think it was just getting the body moving, getting those endorphins in, doing the gratitude. And I think you need to believe in yourself as well and that you can get through whatever you need to get through.
I like that. Yeah, I do the gratitude thing in the morning. Now I'm like, maybe I should switch it up. I should do it at night so I can go to bed.
You can do both. You can start the day positive and end the day positive. Bookend it.
Quite often in the morning, I'm like, it's a hit and miss for me. I tend to forget it. But thank you for sharing that. I know we spoke about parents before, and obviously your entrepreneurial journey is a secret to them, which hopefully they're not listening. But tell us through this like pregnancy, chemo moment in your life, did you share that with your parents? Did they know? Like, does anyone else in your family know?
So they sort of know.
Okay.
They just assume it's like a PCOS thing because I know like PCOS for me causes quite a bit of issues. So I don't go into a lot of details about things. I just kind of like let them not worry and I just go, I'll be fine. It's just a little thing that I need to do in hospital and I'll be out and fine in like a couple of months. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So they have, or they kind of know, but kind of know.
Yeah, kind of know that I was in hospital, but kind of don't really know the extent of what happened.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Very secretive.
Yeah, very secretive to your parents. But I love that you went through all of that effectively on your own, or obviously with your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good on you.
Thank you.
Gosh.
There's so much to it, right? It's like you don't want them to worry, but then the good thing is that they don't worry too much. Otherwise, they'll be prying for answers. Like some of the parents are good at that as well. But, sometimes I'm just thinking, is it the best method? And it's like maybe it is for these cases.
So tell what's the aspiration for your company now? Like, where do you want to head to next?
I really just want to help a whole bunch of companies exit. I really like it when they obviously finalize the sale and like the joy from the founder's face. So really want to help a lot of them and then just keep scaling the business and then obviously going on to buy more businesses. And I think that's just my aspiration. I just know that I want to grow this as big as I can, potentially into a like PwC type of company.
I love that.
Yeah. Because like I feel like I know it's like a very big dream, but I feel like it's reachable if you maybe break it down into smaller goals. And so I really want to do that and I want to do great things in life. And so that's one of them.
Yeah. Yep. And what do you say to, because I know you specifically work with founder-leds, right? Yeah. And the thing with founder-led businesses is that the founder is obsessed with what they've been building and what they're leading.
Yeah.
So how do you, what would you say to founders who have started a business a couple of years in, doing well, but are obsessed with what they're building and are not thinking about the exit?
I think always think about the exit no matter what, because you never know what's going to happen in life. I know like a lot of people that don't think about it until like say someone in their family gets sick or they get an injury and they can't work anymore. And so they don't know what to do with their business. They've spent years of their lives building this business up and then they're not going to do anything with it. And so I think you should always think of an exit. Eventually you will have to exit your business, whether it's you retiring, you having kids, you actually going through a sale, like you will eventually exit no matter how long it takes. So it's always good to think about the exit.
Yep. And I guess what would be the demographic that you're really targeting at the moment? And I understand like you've worked a lot with the e-commerce space, but what other opportunities are you trying to find, or if we were to tell the audience who's listening, like where are the opportunities that you're trying to spot currently?
Yeah. So obviously we work with e-commerce brands, but other than that, we do look at older legacy businesses. So thinking about the people that are about to retire and either helping them hand over their business to the next generation. Inspiration taken from my partner's family because they also have the same setup where Poppy's about to retire and they need to hand over their businesses to the next gen. So looking at those and then looking at helping either sellers with due diligence or buyers with due diligence as well. So looking under the hood for the buyers is what we're focusing on at the moment.
I mean, it's a very interesting niche, especially when you're talking about like handing over from a first generation to a second generation person, and that handover process is not necessarily easy either. Because we've seen a lot of friends who, like, you know, that process may work and may not work, and if it doesn't work, then the whole thing falls apart in terms of like a relationship damage between you know, first generation, second generation kind of thing. And it's like having a consultant work through that where it's an outside voice can definitely help the scenario, because you're taking expert advice rather than trying to figure it out between two generations.
So it helps with the family dynamics, but I also think it helps with older people not being as tech savvy, and so they'll get a lot of savings from just digitalizing a lot of their business.
And on the lens of tech, especially from an operations lens, I have to ask the question, how have you been implementing AI?
Oh, I love it. So I always do practice what you preach. And so actually, I think it was 3 weeks ago, one of my other best friends is a tech founder and he's like in the AI space. So me and him sat down and kind of audited my whole business to see what I could implement elsewise in terms of automations and AI. So we spent the whole week building all of that stuff out. So
I love that.
Cool.
Always practice what you preach.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lyn, let's round out the conversation with a little tip that you would give to your younger self. Let's just say the teenage Lyn who hasn't been into the career workforce yet. What advice would you give her?
I think I would say, like, always trust yourself to work it out. Like, no matter what happens, you'll figure a way out.
I love that. Great advice. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today. It's been such a pleasure learning, unpacking about your culture, your journey in business, and we wish you all the very best. And we can't wait to bring you back for part 2 to hear how you're exiting your company next.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lyn.
Bye.
Thanks, Lyn. Bye.